All right. Well, howdy, y'all. Good morning. How is it? Wherever it is that you is. Beautiful day out here on Spiritual Ranch. Sitting on top of the layer of clouds down below. Looks like it's starting to dissipate right now. Heading out back to the ocean, but we got enough to get the grass wet. That's good. Been having a good week. I don't know about you all. Kind of got off the ranch a little bit. I went down. I worked a couple days for an old guy, helping him out on his place, and so I got off the ranch here and hung around some other people. That was good. It's been about 4 months, and it's been since January. Guess that's a little more than 4 months. Aside from going to town, getting groceries, whatever, but just not, you don't really talk a whole lot with people when you go down and get groceries and stuff like that. It's all just people you don't know, and so you don't really have that connection with somebody that you do know. And the person I was working for, it's not an individual that I really truly know, but I do know them, they know me a little bit, and so the familiarity's nice, right? Solitude is interesting, A lot of people, I think it drives crazy, I guess. A lot of people are really afraid of it, but the more time that I spend alone, I guess the more expansive that my internal space becomes, and that's the space that we all need to be more genuine in and more receptive of, more aware of, more intentional of, knowing that the expansion is within, the universe doesn't expand outside of you. You can't jump on a spaceship and fly to the celestial orbs. They exist within your own well-being, and that's what it is. That's where God works, And it's a deep well, your being, Your being is the deepest well that a lot of us can encounter. It's a dark place where a lot of people are afraid to go, And that's our journey, And so a shallow well doesn't usually carry good water, A good deep well has salt, has good water, right? That's where the good water's at. So you got to go deep if you want, to discover what you're here to discover on Earth, And that's the thing, And so it's those deep inner emotions that we hold within. That is our water, And like the better developed that our well is, so it's like the harder we work to dig it deeper, and the more comfortable we become in that darkness as we dig, then we develop into an aquifer, that could feed nations, right? And that's what God's doing with us right now. That's the work that they're trying to do, And so we're at a very powerful time in this state of transition that we're in, as intergalactic orbs, as global ancestors, and as divine beings. And so we're trying to set this path straight. The Six of Pentacles card has really been staying in the deck, a lot. And same with the Six of Swords, This morning I did a little meditative read, just feeling the energies, and those 4 sevens came out, And so that's our energies, probably that we'll see a little bit of. Of course, there's that King of Wands or Queen of Wands is in there, but a lot of air, a lot today. It's a big, seems like a lot of disputes between the King of Swords and the Queen of Wands, and then some Pentacle energy or some Page or Knight energy, So we'll see. We'll figure it out what's going on. I haven't been paying much attention. I know they elected a new Pope, and so Pope dope, right? Put him on a rope, man. I mean, I don't trust any of them guys. And we should know better by now. If you don't believe me, ask Montezuma. Anyhow, the garden starting to grow. Everything out here starting to grow. It's a beautiful day, man. It's another beautiful day. We're powerful. We're powerful. We're here. This is the 1776 was a physical reaction to the oppression at the time, or whatever, the changes that need to come in, but they were fighting for physical, right? They're fighting for physical wealth right now. We're not. Right now we're fighting for the metaphysical, you know. This is God's changing, right? And so the war that we're facing, the 1776, and the freedom that we're trying to fight for, and the ability to defend is within. You know, we got to defend our inner kingdom because that is the kingdom of heaven, and that's what's being asked of us right now. You know, but we're mighty conquerors. You know, we're King David's, right? We're with the all-knowing. We're with the Most High, and we're in union with the Most High. That's the divine essence of our spirit. You know, and that's our divine union that occurs within, because Most High leads us to the bridegroom that we have within, or to the bride that we have within, because when they wed us to ourselves like that in their union, as they're our overseers, and they're our pastor, they're our leader, they're our father, our mother, they're our everything, then we can have that union in ourselves, you know, we can walk in that high light with Most High, man. And that's a blessing. It's a massive blessing, you know. And so that's what we're working on. And that's why I sit down at the table, and that's why I read, and that's why I open myself up to the channels and the spirits that God Most High has available to channel through me. And it's always a good experience because I'm protected by Most High, you know, and because that's the words that's trying to come in right now. It's trying to come in true, you know, like things are changing, you know. We've been through stuff like this before. We've seen it. We know how it goes, you know. Those of us who have past life experiences that we're able to remember, we're able to recall, because the Most High wants us to be clear in our thinking. We remember this shit, and so we know how it goes, and so we know how to do it right this time, and that's the change that's coming. You see, world hasn't seen that yet. That's a brand new idea, you know. Come out of the shadow and then do it right, you know, right this time. Well, that's going to make everything right. It's not do it again this time and fuck it all up again. It's do it right this time. And that's the position that we're in, because we all have more wisdom in our hearts, you know. We're learning. Most High has been teaching. They've been teaching us in our own shadow. That's why it's been so dark for thousands and thousands of years, honestly. And, you know, as light lifts in some areas, it just casts shadows in others, you know. And so we need to eliminate them shadows, because it's them shadows that that kind of get us all in trouble, man. You know, we spend too much time in that shadow, and we forget what the light is like, you know, and the light's what feels best on our skin, you know. It delivers that vitamin D, you know. So, hey, Most High, we pray on you. I say thank you so much, man. Thank you for the blessings that you bring in my life. Thank you for the prayers that you answered for me. Just in every way that you do, you know. And thank you for the story that you tell and the narrative you share, you know, because we're going to win this one. And without you, we wouldn't win this one. Thank you for my bay leaf, even though it's too wet to burn. We love you, Most High, always, you know. I left out in the dew, so it's my own damn fault. But I can speak loud enough for you to hear me. We don't always need slow. You're the King of Kings, Most High. Queen of Queens, most powerful God in the universe, man. You create everything, you know. Thank you. Thank you for all my blessings, man. The ones I was too ignorant to receive, the ones I have received, the ones yet to come. I ask that you please bless this whole world with your love and grace, like you've given it to me, because they deserve it to, you know, man. You know, I've been climbing through a mountain of shit my whole life, man. It always helped me come out smelling like a rose, spirit. So I want to get some other motherfuckers out here doing the same thing, I ask that you protect this space, protect this reading, spirit. Use my tongue, you know, like you do. Nobody likes to listen to me, you know, but you still speak the truth, right? I don't care if they look at me like I'm stupid. I speak too much, but I'm gonna run that thing till the sides come off it, you know. I'm the sword of truth. But most I appreciate you for making me that sword of truth, man. I really do. I truly do. I truly do. Appreciate you for my spirit of the line. Appreciate you for humbling me the way you have. You know, it's my tongue, that's my sword, you know, that's how God made me, man. Sometimes you gotta have steel and sometimes you don't, you know. A tongue can be a very powerful tool if you know how to use it. That spell work, that's what everybody's up to, nowadays. It's got them fancy tongues on them, man, telling them lies, right? Well, spirit, why the hell we gotta tell lies all the time, man? What's worth buying about you, spirit? What's worth buying about you, Coin came out right there, came out by itself, right? That's the Pinnacle coin, right? That's the money coin. I asked Spirit, what do these people think is worth lying about, right? Why are they lying about everything? Why they gotta be lying, man? Why all this bullshit, right? And Spirit says money. Spirit don't lie about nothing, and so I'm pretty sure that's probably means exactly what it means, man. It's that Earth too, that Pinnacle is Earth. So that's Earth signs, right? That's Earth. That's Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo, and somebody's telling a lie. Spirit says grab a couple more. We got a battle going on, so he's in their head, their intuition, out here by the sun, we got the USA coin right here. That coin's been coming out, So that could mean, so I got a couple little burnt bay leaves, unburnt bay leaves right there too. Those bay leaves were wet, so that's earth, that's wet, right? So that could be in its motion. Here we got the up 6 flags, right? 10-second ride coin. This one came out, still coming out, I guess. It came out a couple days ago. Sitting right on top of that USA coin over here by the sun. And so something's getting heated, right? And it's only going to be a 10-second ride. So whatever it is, if it's a fight, they're going to get their ass whooped quick, But if it ain't, they've been lying and something's going to fall apart real quick, So the towers might not be falling, but they could be burning. That's for damn sure, Nobody's really in their intuition a whole lot today, The Earth coin over here, that Pinnacle on it, it's coming out real close to the globe, man. And so world affairs are focused on their money. That's for sure, right? Or you might be focused on your money, whatever it is that's going on for you, You might have a situation in your life that you've been leaning a little too heavily on what you've got that's earthbound and not listening to your intuition enough. And that's why it's causing you financial duress, right? And that's a possibility. This coin right here is self-explanatory. This is the Pope, right? And so we got us a new Pope, right? And what the hell does that mean? I don't know. We're going to find out because the seashell coin over here, this is my water coin. It's in the upright. And so that's emotions, that's feelings. That's feelings and everything, But this is this here is my cravings. It's my advertising. It's my junk food, junk, right? Junk, drugs, alcohol, tobacco, sex, porn. This is Pornhub. This is it's Coca-Cola, right? And so it's all the plastic that you're consuming that's turning into little tiny particles and taking over your brain. That's what that is right there. And so you're craving it all the time because it's poisonous, right? And so something about your emotions is being poisoned most likely by the institution because the institution coming out here strong with their new Pope, right? And so we're going to find out what kind of a piece of shit this one is because we definitely found out what kind of a piece of shit the last one is. And so here we go. That's what the world's doing today, right? We don't know whether to worship money or some dumbass over here that's hurting children, hardened children, lying to us, creating wars, conflict, and all this bullshit in the name of the cross, right? With their dead idol hanging on it. These people, they worship dead corpses, right? They worship dead flesh. They don't know anything about the living blood of God and Christ, right? They don't know nothing about you. They're blind. And that's why they worship their money and they can't think straight their emotions because they ain't got no heart and soul. All they care about is their coin sitting over here right next to the globe where they're perched on their own roost thinking they're the rooster in charge and they're the high and mighty one, but they're going to get their ass kicked by the bannies because that's just the way it rolls, man. We're tougher than they are. And so that's why we're coming out here more closer to our intuition. We're listening to ourselves in this wounded warrior energy because we know damn good and well, we fought the battles. We have won the wars. And this is the old us, The new us is coming out with grace, man. And that is why our emotions are upright, but they're trying to manipulate them. And that's the truth, U.S., they're just sitting out here with their dicks in their hands by the sun with their asses on fire getting ready to really fall. on this 10-second ride, because if you think you can trust Six Flags and you're high, that's just what I think. That's what the coins tell me, at least, you know. And out here, lurking around the water, right? Out here by the moon, hiding and pretending like they can't be seen and everything, is this little tiny shark tooth right here. And so there's sharks in them water, folks. No matter what, you can't trust that bottle of Coca-Cola, even though that water symbol right here, a lot of water with the moon out here and this seashell. But this seashell's coming out more by the planets. It wants to act like Saturn no more. It don't want to listen to its intuition. It wants to kick ass. And that's why there's sharks in them waters, folks. You know? We might ought to look at the teeth on that Pope and see what he's got in that grill, because he might be the one that's going to eat us up like minnows. You never know. They've done it before. Watch your coin, folks. They're coming after it. They're going to use church. They're going to use religion. They're going to use love. They're going to use everything they can to keep you on that little fucking 10-second ride, so you don't get nothing out of your life that's gratifying, you know. And they just keep railing you with the next leader in this bullshit hat over here, acting like they're a pope on a rope, pope and dope on a rope, folks. That's just what it has to be looked at like, you know. Can't trust them. We got us an American pope too, you know. And so this pope might not be around for a very long time now, because that's only a 10-second ride that they're saying over there. And that little coin sitting on top of that big USA coin that's on the global scale. So it'd be like if the Olympics was in Italy right now, you know, and the Pope was the gold medal prize, right? Well, we got that prize, but that don't mean we're going to stand up there on top forever. I think it's only going to be a short little ride. And that might be because there's something concealed in this Coke bottle. When they pull the lid off that bottle, all this water is going to come flowing out, and it's going to show the world what we are, man. It's going to show us that this coin right here, it needs to be pure gold and a little bit bigger. And they took all that gold out of Fort Knox, so we're fucked, you know, and that's what that says, man. Anyways, Spirit, let's throw some plants on this thing. I like getting plant. We'll do some rocks and minerals. See about these rocks and minerals. I don't know my rocks and minerals as well as I know my plants. You know, I've been relearning my alchemy and everything. I'm on a rich spot right here. We got a lot of good stuff out here. And I'm in a green belt, you know. And so I've been learning a little bit. But I don't know. You know, with plants, I know plants pretty well, really well. Really, I've done a lot of work with plants. And so I understand their magic, you know. When they come out, I can understand what they're trying to represent, whatever. But maybe we'll do a little bit of both, right? And so we got here, Spirit. We got here. Why is water here at this seashell come out of this Coke bottle? Spirit. What the hell's going on over here with this shit? This toxic industry, you know? This is toxic industry that's creating you. That's coming after are upright and stable emotional energy. They're the sharks in the water, you know. But what they don't realize is that you're the water, right? And that's gonna be the rude awakening, man. We're all gonna start drinking more water. That's what that means. Drink more water. Stop drinking that soda pop. Because if you drink more water, stop drinking that soda pop, you're gonna get that 10 cups right there. And so that 10 cups is motion. That's all that emotion. But that's emotion upright, you know. So that's why that shell came out in the upright like that. Because even though they're trying to toxify us and tempt us with their bottled poisons and their potions and shit, you know, it's like these are snake salesmen, you know, snake oil salesmen, right? Yeah, I can see in their temptation, they're trying to break your heart, you know. There's not truth there. There's swords that are going to go right into you. It's coming out in the reverse. So that means that when you see through their temptation, you see that shell right there, right? You know, and shell's organic matter, you know. Shell, I have a lot of black shell on this property right here, you know. Shell is, it's like, it's stagnant energy is what it is, right? And so it's, you know, and also shell's where oil comes out of, right? And a lot of the stuff that we use and petroleum products and shit comes out of shell. That's what bitumen is, and that's how they build these industries for these false idols that they got us worshiping on. That's gonna that if we don't realize that that's what they are, we don't see ourselves in this water, this healthy energy, this healthy emotion, and nurturing ourselves, right? And this 10 of Cups energy, then we could fall prey. We could be in that 3 of Swords. But if we don't, if we stay in this 10 of Cups energy right now, we could take people who are stuck in this 3 of Swords energy and help them see themselves for their value, because shell is also very useful in the garden because it's ancient organic matter, right? It's ancient life, man. And so it's ancestral wisdom that we're trying to heal within ourselves and with those who are around us, you know? What's up with this Pope, man? Born in September, right? Virgo. Jack of Swords. That means that this Pope right here is going to be short-lived. I don't think this guy's going to be around very long. Let's see what's going to happen. That's interesting. Maybe the church won't be around very long. Something's up because Jack of Swords, you know, they come in fast, but they don't stick around very long because they're just a jack. They got to go learn how to be all these other things before they get to grow up and be a king. You know, that's not a King of Swords to come out and tell the truth. That's not a Queen of Swords that cut through the bullshit. That's a Jack of Swords who you're not really sure that he knows what he's talking about. You know, sounds good, but we don't know if he knows what he's talking about. And so he may not be here a long time. 10-second ride right there, you know. That's 10-second ride of the truth, you know. We don't want that. We don't want lies. We don't want 10-second lies and 50 seconds of truth. Or we don't want 10 seconds of truth and 50 seconds of lies. We want 24 hours of truth, man. 7 days a week, right? Especially if you're going to be a religious leader or somebody that thinks that they're in a position where they can teach like that, then they need to be speaking the truth. And that's just the truth, right? Okay, Spirit, why's Pinnacle out here? What's this star? What is it that the church doing right now? Because they've manipulated us with money for a long time. All right, that's why Jesus ran him out of the temple there in the first place, huh? Ace of Swords. So you might be having a passionate new beginning in your finances, which that'd be great. You know, that Pinnacle might mean that. That Pinnacle with that. We got that fireweed. That's not even supposed to be in this deck right here. But still, it's that fireweed. And so, with that 10 of Swords, right? And I'm going to take it because it's not supposed to be in this deck, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to put it there with the Ace of Staves, right? Which is Ace of Clubs right here, being underneath the Pinnacle coin. Is that with this soldier button out here and 10 of Swords is telling me that there's a passionate new beginning that came out real passionate and hot, right? Everybody put their pinnacle on it. They put their coin on it here in the world affairs, you know, here in between the world and the US of A. And so it's like, it's been invested on. This passionate new beginning has been invested on, but it's the same crusty old war button and the same crusty old story that it's always been, man. And there's just nothing there. And so that passionate new beginning is coming in. It was fireweed, right? So it was hot in the head. It was had a lot of hot ideas, a lot of great ideas, looked really good. Bloviated, right? It had fire in it, or it had hot air in it, right? And so that shit started to float off, and it's gonna result in the 10 of Swords, man. And because confirmation burp, that's what the cards are saying, man. You can't fucking. I'm not gonna argue with the cards, you know. King Cups is on the bottom of the deck, you know, and so that with this 10-second ride over here in the coin by the but that I don't really know why that's there, you know. I don't know what Spirit's telling me with that one here. We'll check out. We'll have to see. Anyhow, Spirit, what you trying to say, man? That's why the USA is coming over here by candles out in the sun, man. They're getting their feet burned. They're getting their maybe they're getting their little red whiskers singed a little bit. Planning them world affairs, thinking they're a hot shot when really, you know, it takes more than just to be a billionaire or some rich kid to be a hot shot. And that's the truth. That's what God's teaching everybody right now, man. That's why is the shark tooth here, Spirit? Four Wands energy is on this shark's tooth, you know? And so one more on that one, Spirit. And 6 of Wands. So you might be swimming with sharks, right? But you got a divine union with God, and you're gonna celebrate, you know. And so this shark's tooth right here, it's not a big, bad, fierce, great white shark's tooth or whatever. It's just kind of a little shark's tooth, right? That's not a big predator. That's just something out there lurking in the waters that you're scared of because you know it's there. You think it's gonna eat you up, it's gonna gobble you up, but it's not gonna, because out there in the waters by the moon and the motion, out here at this seashell, a lot of ocean energy, right? The 10 cups. That's celebration. And so God's telling you that whatever you're being tempted by here, that is coming out in that Three of Swords energy, but in the reverse as shale, that temptation is not going to serve your purpose, you know. It's not gonna, you know, and whatever they're trying to push forward over here with this passionate new beginning, right? Again, it's this American dream, man. It's that what the hell is that? Norman Rockwell or whatever that guy was. Did all them paintings and shit. That's a day that's gone past, man. We ain't there no more. We learned that all that stuff's cancerous and everything. We seen that them sharks are out there, you know. So we started knocking our teeth out because we want to swim in our own water where we're protected and safe. See, in this seashell, doesn't matter if they got our shark. They can't suck a limpet off a rock. They can't, you know. And so we're firmly attached to our emotional grounding, to our emotional connection with ourselves and God Most High. And so that's why their leadership right now is coming out in this Jack of Swords energy because they don't know jack shit. Right, and that's just that. We all know that. We've seen this play out many times. And right now they're selecting a pope from the U.S. It's like I think they're trying to burn the whole house of cards down or whatever, man. Really embarrass us, and that's why he's probably into that. You know, they say like you know he's out of Chicago and stuff. And he's into that colorful stuff. Like he's into that rainbow token that we have coming out every once in a while. That's San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, but they got the same vibe going on there in Chicago too. Yeah? Let's see what the plants say. What we got here, anyways? We got shale, and we got you see the halite, which is got halogen, I think, in it and all that stuff, right? And then the preonite is that's gold silver. It's 6 wands in the upright. It's coming out in the upright, and that halite is coming out in the reverse. Actually, has that 4 wands, and so there's a celebration out here. But see, these sharks are the ones that are turning that 4 wands in the reverse because you should be celebrating in a divine union. You know, you should be celebrating in a divine union with yourself. But that's 4 wands. And so if you have 4 wands, then that means that you're with an individual who's got 2 wands and another individual has 2 wands. So they got a divine balance of their masculine and their feminine in them. And that's why they can show up in this 10 of Cups. But whoever's in this 10 of Cups energy is in their water, but protected in that shell, you know. And so they're not really open right now to a divine union because there's addictions or whatever that need to be dealt with, you know. There's outdated thinking. There's old ways that need to be put in the past. So that this 3 of Swords doesn't come out in the upright. It stays in the reverse, you know, and it doesn't come out. Because like with shell could have a lot of really good benefits, a lot of good stuff like that. But it could also have other things that might make you sick, you know, as far as, I mean, you know, bitumen. You don't want bitumen in your water and stuff like that. But it could also have heavy metals and stuff like that too, you know. And so that's why that 4 wands is coming out here, you know, you're in your head about something, you know you want to celebrate, but you feel like you're swimming in the water with the sharks, you know, but you're kind of scared of the little fish, you know. You're actually kind of a little bit bigger fish than what they are. You just got to see that because you're the one with 2 wands. You got balance inside of you, you know. All 4 of your elements are balanced. Or they need to be because that's how you're going to turn that card in the upright position so that you are celebrating with that 6 of wands, you know. And it's long term. It's not like a short term celebration like this Jack over here. That's what we're doing today, right? That looks like that's where we're at. We got air, fire, and then water. Fortunately, we got a lot of water out here because that's a lot of fire. You don't want to put the fire out, but you definitely want to cool it down if it gets going out of control because, you know, just like a candle that gets kicked over and catches your carpet on fire or something like that, it starts to blaze, it's going to burn the whole house down. It might start off as a little candle, but if you're not paying good awareness to it, you're not showing caution, and you're not being safe about that fire, keeping it contained, you know, so it doesn't rage out of control and take everything you have, you know. And that's why trying to learn how to be a passionate human being is something that we're all trying to work on, you know. But there's a lot of air on this table too, you know. And so when you put air on fire, that's when shit gets really out of control. But you got 10 cups over here, and so you're ready to go. You got your fire lines built already. You got water in your tanks, you know. You got a good strong source, you know. So even though you might have to run some sprinklers and stuff out there, you might have to be deep in your water to keep your shit safe. You got enough water that you can do this, you can handle it, you know. And you're not going to drown either because you know how to live in the water like that. You're protected. That's why you're coming out in that energy right there. That's a lot of water that seashell represents in the upright position. That's my 10 of cups anyways, because that's water, right? That's you, heart, soul. You know, that's your love with God, right? That's your divine union, you know, that's your divine healing. You know, that's when you forgive yourself. You know, you spend a little time in that seashell, and that's when you forgive yourself, right? Peppermint, spearmint, you know? Yeah, you know? You're the spice of life. God loves you. Mint grows directly in water, you know? It does. It grows really well in water all the time. It can have always wet roots, you know? It grows on wet soil. So this energy over here for the, oh, that's cute, right? So your energy, the energy you're coming out in as you, us, we, the divine individuals, the divine beings, one of us that are in our light right now and not dealing with karma, right? We're operating in a way that we're forgiving ourselves for the things that we've done, and we're focusing on ourselves emotionally. We're trying to make ourselves fulfilled within by God Most High, and we're no longer living in fear because of the things that we've done or the things that we might do, because we've already done the things that we're gonna do in order for us to gain our karma, to forgive ourselves, to gain our dharma, and to move forward as enlightened beings, as divine chosen, as God's Most High's chosen individuals, right? We've had to do a lot of healing, and the time that we spent in this shell in our water as mint, right, in this 6 cups energy, that's us handing down the wisdom of our higher selves to our lower selves that are trying to learn, you know. And so now we're growing up together, right? And so we're moving towards Most High, but we're protected in those waters. God gives us a craft that's always going to sail, right? This Coke bottle, though, see, it's an energy that's over here. It's stuck in its head about outdated ways of thinking, and it doesn't know what to choose. It's coming out as the King of Diamonds, which is in the Tarot King of Pentacles, right? And then it's coming out in the upright position. That's good, right? We like that. As wintergreen. And so the wintergreen and the mint, you know, they're homies. They really are. They roll together. They do almost everything. If you didn't understand how the difference is in the way that they smell, you would almost not be able to recognize the difference between the two plants. You know, it's like one of those. They're very, very, very closely related. They're soulmates. Like, they work well together. You'll find them in cohesion with each other. They mix well together, as if you take wintergreen and you take peppermint and you mix them together, right? Experiment, you mix them together, and you can't tell the difference between the two even, you know, right? Like, if you mix the two together, it makes such a perfect match of the two together that you couldn't say, like, that's peppermint or wintergreen. You would say that's mint green, or what. You wouldn't know. You couldn't tell you. A lot of people couldn't tell you the difference between them, you know? But they're all yummy, absolutely delicious, the best. I mean, I love them, man. I got me some good men out here. I do, you know. I want to get me some wintergreen too. I got peppermint. Peppermint's nice. My dad had some peppermint that was really good stuff. You know, really strong. He died. We brought it back here. I think it lived, but I got some other peppermint that's out here too, you know. And so it grows kind of real hardy. The both of those are real hardy. They're real strong, and they're good in water. You know, they can handle their water. The King of Pentacles can handle their water. You know, when they're grounded and everything, as long as they're coined straight. But with this 2 of Swords coming out here, this King of Pentacles is trying to make a choice, right? They're trying to make a choice over something that they're pretending like they don't see. You know, and so they got both those swords in their hands, and they got to cut through some bullshit. But the energy that they're in, they're not being able to see, you know. So it's like, if they start swinging those swords too hard, they're going to cut out too damn much, maybe, possibly. Or they're going to cut out one thing that they want to keep, and then they're going to have 2 things stuck that they got to stay in their head about, and they don't think straight. But if they don't cut out the right thing, this 3 of Swords, it could go in the upright position, you know. And so it's outdated thinking. This is outdated thinking. And this is addictive shit. It's addictive personality. It's obsession. You know, it's cravings. You know, so it's like, it's having a craving, unnatural cravings. It's like you got everything that's good. You know, it's like you got Coca-Cola in your refrigerator, right? But then you got fruit in your refrigerator. You got some yogurt, or you got some other things that are good. You know, and so it's like, you're like, oh, I want something. You're having a craving. How am I going to satisfy that craving? You know, what's best for me? Should I go reach for that Coca-Cola, even though I haven't eaten all day or whatever? And or whatever, for whatever reason, you know, it's never really the best choice. That's something that you do, kind of like drinking vodka or whatever, you know. Maybe do it every once in a while, but don't drink that shit all the time, because it's not really gonna do you any favors, you know, no matter what. You drink a little bit, it's still bad for you. You drink a lot, it's really bad for you. But you gotta choose, you know, and you gotta be able to have self-control. You gotta be able to open up that refrigerator and say, no, you know, like if I drink that Coke right now, then it's not, it might be really sad. It might be really like exciting and thrilling and great for me right now. I'll get a real like buzz off of it for a little bit. But then when I come down, I'm not going to feel good, you know, like it's not going to give me what I need, you know, and then I'm not going to feel good. Now, if I try to drink more Coke, that Coke's not going to make me feel better at all. I'm just going to be stuck in this loop. That's addiction, right? That's things that we do. That could be emotion. That could be sex. That could be anything, you know, that could be needing others to want you. That could be, needing to want others. That could be a lot of things, you know, and so we got to be careful of the things that we crave that cause us grief, and we got to know how to manage that shit properly. So it's not that we don't ever take advantage, you know, have joy in our lives, or take something that's, recreational, right? It could be, we could have recreation, but we got to be careful about obsession and everything so that we don't turn that sword in the reverse. Shell's a good thing, you know, and everything, but everything within moderation, and you gotta make sure that you're using it for a good cause, good purpose. You know, Shell's act great, yeah, because it's also really good in your garden and everything. But if you take the bitumen out of it and you pump it all over the world like we're seeing today, you're gonna have war, you're gonna have starvation, you're gonna have death. You know, you're gonna have total fucking economic and global collapse if you're not careful with it, and that's what we're seeing. That's also playing out in people's hearts. You know, that's playing out in this King of Pentacles' minds. They're definitely in their heads on it right now. They're trying to decide what's best for me. What is best for me, you know? But the energy that they're dealing with is saying, don't fuck with me. I know what's best for me. I'm not thinking about it no more. This limpet's like, I don't drink Coke. I drink water, man. And that's that, you know. And God always gives us good, clean water that's always good and healing to our body, to our soul. And if we don't put Coke in our refrigerator, we don't have ourselves tempted by Coke. And so if we just let God give us what we need, and we let God provide for us, then we're not tempted by this shit that the covens out here are trying to brew up in their little spell bottles, little spellcraft and shit, you know. And that's the truth, man. And that's what's going on with this world, you know. Spirit, why is this, what's up with this new Pope? I'm curious about the new Pope. Virgo. Spirit, Virgo. What's up with this new Pope? Why is this Virgo coming out in a King of Swords energy, or the Jack of Swords energy? That's lame. It's going to be a Pope coming out with that energy. He ain't going to do jack shit. With all this corruption we got right now, you know, these guys doing all the crazy shit they're doing, don't you think they put something in there that can lead? You know? Wounded Warrior. See? The Spirit's saying to me that they just put in another one of their own, man. That's all that is, you know. That guy, he's been abused, neglected, abandoned, lied to, treated like shit, just like these Templars do for his whole life, you know. He's been groomed for this position because he'll allow you to, he's going to allow all these assholes out here to continue with their same nastiness, you know. On the Pinnacle coin over here at that Ace of Passion, right? We're coming out here at the 4 coin. It's somebody sold everybody a song that they can't sing. That is, and they're not gonna sing it to you. So good job with that one, folks. Way to go, we the people. Way to do your job there, you know. I'm feeling I can't vote, so but yeah, we the people, right? Why do we do that one? Why we do that shit like that, man? That's kind of crazy to, didn't we know better? I mean, didn't we know better? What did this individual do sitting on his thumbs the whole 4 years that we had this individual in here lying to us? Another Virgo, you know? And so we got another Virgo here that's groomed just as much as that one, that guy. And so, way to go, we the people. Way to go. And that's why now we know our military is already defeated. See, it says 10 of Swords with this military button right here. And this military brass from out here when they were out here showing their ass and killing God's people, destroying God's land, right? In the name of money. And they got 10 of Swords too. They got 10 swords and they ain't here no more, man. They killed everything that was good before they left, but we could rebuild that. They're gone now. That's the most important part. We need to remove them from where they're in these 10 of Swords, which is all air, right? And so I guess the other air sign left the fucking White House. So now we're down to just one, and he's carrying all 10 of them swords right now. And that's not good. That's why he's got these 4 coins clutched to his chest, because they took the gold out of Fort Knox. 10-second ride, folks. They're gonna burn this motherfucker to the ground. That's why that USA coin's coming out. Too close to the sun, man. And the wax is gonna melt, and then feathers gonna fall off. They're gonna crash and burn. That's just what it is, man. Unfortunate. That's why with air, you gotta watch out with individuals that have too much air. You know, it's okay to have strong placements in air, and that's valuable. But them individuals can sometimes not be trustworthy. You know, they can soar too high up in that air and get ahead of themselves. And when they're in a leadership position, they don't lead from the bottom, they lead from the top, you know. And the best way to see through the muck is you gotta lead from the bottom, because that's where the roots are. And if you want to take out Scourge, you want to clean the swamps, you gotta get in there and you gotta pull the roots up. You don't clean the swamp from the top, man. All that shit's just gonna grow right back up, and it's gonna plug that swamp back up, and it's gonna be the same mess that you were dealing with last year. And so if you go in there and you just try to scrape the duckweed out of there, and you just try to scrape out the lily pads, you try to scrape out the slime and shit, you know, oh, it'll be clean water till end of summer. And then next spring, you're going to be right back in that same muck, you know. And I don't care if you do it for 4 years, unless you get down to the bottom of that swamp, you get down in that mud, you pull them roots out, homie. You ain't going to do shit. So can you swim? You got water in your chart? That's what I want to know. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to have to get your feet wet. You can't be all air. You can't be all hot-headed. You can't be all fire. You can't be out here just blowing up these flames and shit, trying to burn the swamp up too, because you ain't going to clean the swamp with fire. Not at all, trust me. I got wet feet. I know what I'm talking about. See? On that 10 of swords here, with that button, it's the Ace of Swords. That's Excalibur. That's the Sword of Truth, you know, and that's the tongue God gave me. And so we ain't talking about lies right here. We ain't talking about lies, you know. And I didn't get a mineral card on the USA coin, but I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. 10-second ride. We already talked about that, but I don't know. That's all of us, you know. That's fire, water, earth, and air. That's why it's where it's at, right? Because if you look at it like the table's water, you know, or air, the moon is the earth, you know, and the earth is the earth over there, and then we got fire over here at the candle, man. That's all 4 elements. Bottom of the deck is the 7 of Wands, and so that they're in battle. That's why that 10-second ride's coming up. You know, somebody's fighting. Spirit, what energy we got out here on this USA coin? What's the energy for this USA coin right here today? What's the energy? What's going on with this USA coin? 9 of Cups, you know, and that's good. You know, 9 of Cups is, well, I mean, 9 of Cups, again, I guess in this energy that we're reading right now, because the 9 of Cups energy could be a positive energy, but I see it as a defensive energy, similar to the, kind of like the 9 of Wands energy is, but the 9 of Wands energy is somebody who's embattled, and they're really fighting for something that when they win, when they get to that 10 of Wands energy with that, they got the resources, they got what they need, you know, they've gained power and strength over their passions, you know. It's like they know how to passionately drive themselves as an individual, you know. Where with the 9 of Cups energy, I always get a bit of like there's wisdom to it, you know, but it's like it's the wounded warrior energy in a sense. It's like this person's got 9 cups, you know, and they have those 9 cups, but I feel that that they didn't fight for those 9 cups, because like if you look at this individual, they're not on the battlefield like the individual is. And and you can't see that in this card, of course, but it's the 9 of Cups, you know. It's coming out as the heliomorph. But it's an energy that is like, they didn't fight, you know. That person's like dressed in a nice garb. They're sitting in front of the table with their cups laid out behind them, and they got their hands crossed like this over their chest, you know, and they're sitting in front of their cups. And they have a bit of a smug look on their faces. So some people says that that's been in their drink. And that could be what this is, because those 9 cups could have been filled with spell work and with toxic poisons and all this bullshit that is poured into our hearts nowadays, right? But the individual that is in that 9 of Cups energy, See, they didn't have to fight for those cups like the individual had to fight for the wands that's in that Nine of Wands energy. And so by the time that individual gets that Ten of Wands, when they win that last battle, they then can carry those wands and they know what to do with them. You know, they've earned those wands. They've done the work. They put in the effort. Whereas this person, they're at a Nine of Cups, but I think that they could have a Ten of Cups, but they've had 9 cups that they're kind of like, well, I don't know if they want to share their 9 cups, right? Because they have the 9 cups. But to get to that 10 of cups, we have to share, you know? That's that last cup. That's when we open ourselves up to another individual who's in that 9 of cups position as well, possibly. And then we could share. We could each give a little and receive a little and build our empire, you know? Get in a position where we're in love with each other. We can build an empire, you know? And so a 9 of cups is kind of like, they don't know if they want to even really take the risk of losing the 9 cups that they have, because they're not really like, you know, they're sitting on a table behind them, you know, and so they're like their cups, but it's like they're not willing to gamble with cups that are all the way theirs, even, like, kind of, you know, and so they're not coming out in that 10 of cups. They're coming out in a position that needs to heal. See, this individual's healed those wounds, and or they've learned to fill those cups on their own in a way that they don't have to be so defensive and so protective. They could be open to the idea of sharing their cups with somebody else, because they know damn good and well that they got those 9 of cups solid, just like that individual gained them 9 staves, and that nobody's going to take them from them, you know? And so that's the energy we're trying to get in, not this confused energy that this King of Pentacles is in, because that King of Pentacles is in a confused energy. And that's why a lot of people could be confused by these 2 energies that we're talking about, because these are 2 different people. But one is trying to make a decision while the other is celebrating as peppermint, while the other one is wintergreen. And they're hard to know the difference between the 2 if you don't know the difference. They smell very different, but they smell exactly the same if you don't know the difference. And so there's some lies being told, but the person who's in their water over here that's done the healing in this 10 of cups, they're healed. You know, and whoever that is, that could be us. That could be where we're trying to step into as Americans, so that we can see our global affairs, our government, our finances, and everything from maybe less of a 9 of cups position, where we don't even really know what it is that we have that we're trying to protect or whatever. You know, we need to assess what it is we have in our cups that give us that attitude that we got something to lose, versus seeing ourselves more like, well, we need to have something to offer here, because we need to show the world that we got 9 cups, not protect our 9 cups from the world, you know? You know, it's like we're all trying to develop a love affair right now with Most High, because God don't want to come back to a world that has no love in it. God don't want to come back into a world that's filled with hate, man. God don't want to deal with that shit. That's just straight up how it is. God would love to be with the creation. God would love to be in union with us. God loves us. That's why God celebrates with each and every one of us within our inner space, you know, where we all try to hide from right now because of these outside influences, you know. We're not seeing ourselves clearly through the mirror, because the mirror never looks at us on the outside. That's not our skin is not our is not who and what we are, you know. It's not your celestial orb. It's not where your light shines. That's within. And until we start to learn how to use that water that's within us as a reflective mirror to see ourselves at, and create an image around us that's more like the image of God as we were created to be, you know, that shell's going to stay on, you know, and the King of Pentacles isn't going to get to celebrate in this 10 of Cups with the person who's healing, you know, and trying to heal them too. But they're too afraid of sharks. But God created everything, you know. And God don't want you to get eaten up by sharks. Spirit, why is the shark tooth here? Let's finish this 9 of Cups over here, Spirit. On the U.S. Let's get a plant on the 9 of Cups, please. Please, thank you. And the plantain, which is the Queen of Cups. And so, yeah, I just think that would, you know, the plantain's a very healing plant. It's a very good plant. It's a hardy plant. It's very healing, though. It's extremely healing. And so I think for us to heal, we got to find more of that Queen of Cups energy in the upright position like that with that plantain, you know? And that's how we're going to heal the wounds that we all are suffering, that these 10 swords that are being delivered to us on this battlefield that we call life, you know, we need to be consuming more of the plantain, more of the herbs, more of what God has to offer us, right? And less of the toxic shit that they've been selling us on for so many years. You know, they've killed multiple generations of our families with their toxicity. You know, I mean, if you're a 20-year-old person now, if you're an 18-year-old person now, then how many generations of your family, if you count back, like if you go to like maybe your parents and then your grandparents, how many of them have suffered from cancer, you know, or another illness that was like really debilitating towards them, you know, like diabetes or any of that shit, you know? If you could count back multiple generations, a lot of us can at this point, you know, and the finger's directed directly at the toxic shit that they've been selling us on, man. This Coke bottle, you know? That's what's rotting our teeth out. That's what's destroying our physical, so that when we're here in our spiritual, in our physical, that's a traumatizing experience, and that creates trauma, you know, and negative energy. See, 3 of Swords. And so we got to heal this shit, man. That God's not going to come into the world looking at all this like this, you know. It's not how they created it to be. It's not how they made it to be, you know. They're waiting on us, you know. They're waiting on us to come and to pull our heads out, you know. But yeah, I can see, and also here at the Pope card, you know, that Pope came out too as the nine of clubs right here with the wild strawberry. Because that wild strawberry, it's easily damaged fruit when it's plucked off a vine, and it doesn't last very long again, man. You know, you only get wild strawberry for a short season. They're tasty, they're sweet, they look good, right? They look great and everything. They smell good, look good, but they don't last very long, especially once you pluck them off the vine. I think this one's been plucked off the vine for a long time. And so over here we got the 5 of clubs, you know, and the 7 of coin in the reverse. 7 of coins in the reverse. 5 of clubs in the upright. The aster, wild aster, right? And it says, warning, do not eat domestic asters. There you have it. Always roll where the wild things grow, you know. And the 7 of Pentacles is you reap what you sow, right? And so this aster with this 5 of wands in the upright position is that somebody's been fighting the resisting the squabbling with this 4 of wands, you know, situation over here. They're confused in their own head. They're causing confusion, you know. They're acting childish about it because they're afraid to swim in the waters because they say, oh, there's sharks in the water. I don't want to get bit by a shark. But sometimes you got to get your toes wet, you know. You got to be brave. You can't always fight with life and what life's trying to present you. When life's trying to give you a 4 of wands, you don't go into a 5 of wands. You embrace that union and avoid the 5 of wands. That's what you do with that, you know. But this 5 of wands is coming in the upright, you know. And so whoever's given this opportunity for this 4 of wands, they're not seeing it, and they want to be in that 5 of wands energy, thinking that that's going to get them to this 6 of wands, right? But the 6 of wands is coming out also as shepherd's purse, but in the reverse as a 7 of coins. And so that means that if you fight and resist what it is that God's trying to bring to you that has a divine union attached to it, if you fight and resist that, then you're going to reap what you sow. And when you and this card being in the reverse means you're not going to get what you want. You're not going to celebrate, right? This isn't going to be a celebration. And so that's why the sharks are coming out here, because see the Preonite right there at that 6 of wands, that one has it's the individual sitting on the horse, but it's got 6 wands around him, and that's them sharks' teeth. You know, that's them sharks in the water. But you're riding celebratory in that situation, but make sure that you're not going to reap what you sow, because you could always fall off your horse. You know, you got to tend your crops. You can't just put the seed in the ground and run away. Come back and celebrate. You know, you got to stand there, and you also got to do the work. That's what it is, right? You got to. That's how we manifest. You know, and so we're gonna do the tarot, and I'm gonna go knock some stuff out today. I gotta get out there. Beautiful day, you know. It's been real warm. starting to grow good and go. I need to get another little cold frame up. My starts out here expanding rapidly, you know. I'm running out of space. So put me up a little cold frame today. I gotta get out there, move some pots, you know, move some soil, and then about time to start planting out. That's cool, you know. They're saying maybe a little snow still out here in the mountains come Sunday, but we have these late season ones, and then it blows out here. It'll be 90, you know. It'll be just like that. Zip zap zop. It's usually how it goes, you know. I feel really blessed by God. You know, I'm really grateful to God right now. You know, I really am. Really grateful to everybody else who is celebrating in that same gratitude with me to God, to Most High, in whatever manner it is that you are celebrating in, because I can feel it, you know. And I'm gonna try. I'm standing strong. I'm not gonna try. I mean, I don't have to try. Like, Most High puts me strong in my emotions, you know. It puts me strong in my shit with Him, and so I could generate that same metaphysical footprint, you know, that same energetic footprint in my divine union with Most High, and my 401's energy right here. I could put out a frequency that sharks don't like, because they're animals that run on frequency, you know. And so you can put stuff in just like with mice, you know, you can run a little gadget that makes noise that they can hear, but you can't hear it, then they don't like it, they run away. Same goes with sharks, you know, they have all kinds of crazy sonar shit. They're like atomic submarines, you know, they got all kinds of devices and stuff. That's where they studied to get a lot of those devices and stuff, you know. And that's how we are, man. And so we gotta be careful about our frequencies, because if we're putting out negative frequency, if we're caught in this situation where the lower dark entities are causing us to have grief in our heart, you know, then that vibration is sent out, and that's what the things around us are going to vibrate. And so you're going to notice or vibrate, you know, or it's going to be affected by it, you know. And so you're going to notice that, like, houseplants die, or like pets are not in good moods, you know, or like you're going to notice that you get mice, you get rats, you know. It's like if you have a low vibrational energy around you because you got dark entities attached to you, you're going to notice those monitoring spirits get real comfortable around you, you know. And if you have a positive in the light frequency that you know is strong and powerful with God Most High, you don't attract them entities, you know. And that's the truth, you know. It really is. You know, and I think that's why, like, all the insects and everything been running away. I think everybody's in such a low vibrating frequency ever since the COVID and the 5Gs and all this stuff that's been going on these last 5 years. It's really snapped everybody into a low vibrational energy, where they're not in that light. Like with the Most High, everybody seems pretty pissed off right now, getting more and more pissed off at each other. I mean, I'm seeing it all over, you know. I spent a lot of time with myself, so I'm really happy, and I've really vibrated at high energy because God's got me separated. But even like with being around people here just the other day, you know, there's a different frequency with them right now, you know, like people are getting really upset. But it's all that fear mongering, you know. That fear-based frequency is throwing our vibration off. And sharks also can hunt with frequency. That's why they got all those devices. So that's a shark tooth right there that's swirling around this Four of Wands experience that we should be having, where we celebrate with Most High. You know, we got to take control of the situation. We got to watch what our buzz is. We got Knight of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck, right? Slowest moving energy in the deck. But that's good, because with that Ten of Swords over here, we need some slow moving energy, you know, with that Ten of Swords. We need this Ace of Swords to come in a little bit slow, you know, and like I would rather have that Knight of Pentacles in the position of Pope than to have that Pope in that position, you know, because that Jack of Swords, you know, is like can be a good person, but they're a fast moving energy. They're going to come in hot and heavy, you know. They're not going to come in not hot and heavy. But they're going to come in with their mouth, you know. They're going to lead with their mouth. They're going to lead with the things that they think, but they don't know. They haven't been proven, you know. And that's not a position that's not an energy, and especially when they're a wounded warrior energy in this Nine of Wands, you know. You don't want a delicate flower in there with that Jack energy and that air energy like that, because if they go run their mouth about things they don't know about, that could cause a lot of problems right now in the world affairs. And we got people trying to have nuclear war and shit, you know. All right, Spirit. How you doing today, Spirit? I love you, you know. I'm sorry that we make all sorts of headache for you. How do you get through it? I ask you that every day. I wanted to ask you, man, how do you deal with it, Spirit? Why are you? And then we got here on the break, see, we got the High Priestess and the King of Pentacles, right? These energies, man, they need to sort this shit out. People need to talk. Somebody needs to be talking in their heart space. They need to listen more to the High Priestess, you know, because she's really trying to tell the truth. She's not playing games, you know. She's not fucking around. She's she's being judged by her heart or outer shell, because she's had to go deep within herself, just like this lipid. They attach to the rocks and you never see their flesh. They protect themselves, and they're hard to get off them rocks. You got probably hard to get them off their rocks when they're set in that position, and you got to do it fast. It's just like an abalone. If you don't sneak up on an abalone and then jab him real quick, pop him off there, he's going to latch on that rock. You're never going to get him off there, or she, And that's the position that this queen of, or this high priestess, that's where she's at right now, That's where she's at, because she don't want to lose her 10 of cups, because it's at the risk of being turned upside down if she's not, because it's coming out in that upright position. But the 6 of cups is it's coming out in the reverse position, but the 6 of cups is coming out on the upright, and that means she's healing. 6 of cups is mint, right? It says, hint for a soothing sleep, rest your head near mint sprigs. And so she's trying to get in her energy of that mint, where she's going to heal herself. And she's going to keep her 10 of cups in the upright position as the high priestess, Yep. And this is the reed grass, 10 of cups is the reed grass. And it says, weave stems for mats, bedding, thatching, grass huts, and excellent tender, So she's over here in her cups, in her protective energy underneath this shell, tended to her home, and she's trying to make her home a home, and that home could be the divine space that she holds within herself, and so she wants her divine space to be clean and safe for a temple for Most High, and so that when she gets that union formed with Most High and that 4 of Wands energy together, they can share a clean space and change the world. 10 of Cups. That's why the high priestess is showing herself here, but only on the bottom of the deck, because she's not in that space right now where she wants to come out of that shell, and she don't want to show her soft flesh because she's afraid she's going to get hurt. She doesn't want to get eaten. A lot going on in this world today, Yeah, see, Spirit says, Wheel of Fortune. And so, this energy right here is not your energy. This energy is not the energy of that high priestess. The high priestess is still staying in the deck, right? But she is waiting, That's why she's in her shell. She's waiting because she knows that there's sharks in the water. But the thing is like that energy with that Wheel of Fortune, because she's got herself in the shell, so she's not going to spin that wheel. Somebody else wants to get up there and spin it, And I think the person that wants to spin that Wheel of Fortune, or the individual, or the energy inside you that's spinning that Wheel of Fortune, is this masculine King of Pentacles energy right here, And that's why they're coming out in that 2 of Swords energy, not making a decision, taking a gamble on things that are not as fulfilling, or things that don't have the gratification, or things that aren't even nutritive for them, that could turn into a 3 of Swords situation. They need to be careful, They're dabbling with these ideas of third-party situations. Third-party situations can be just ideas, If you've been in a union with somebody, right, and you're being a King of Pentacles energy, but then your energy, or like the way that you were presenting yourself, the things that you think, because all of a sudden you become indecisive in your head. Well, your indecisiveness, because you had a way of thinking that you present yourself as, but then now you got these different ways of seeing things. Well, that could be third party involvement too, because your energies inside yourself are conflicted, so you're acting with split personality disorder, And when you're in a partnership, that mental health disorder like that, where you are in a split personality disorder, is going to be very problematic. And that's why that energy is coming out, on the bottom of the deck. Who's spinning this wheel right here, Spirit? Who decided that they're going to step up to that Wheel of Fortune right there and take a big old spin on it? I don't see Pat Sajak in the card here, and I don't see Vanna White. I see energies that could go in whatever direction Most High wants them to go into. This card came out sideways. I don't really read them sideways, But this is honestly, I really think that this energy is. It came out sideways because I think it's like both of these energies. I think that this energy is the one who spun the wheel, right? But I think they spun that wheel because they have been trying to present themselves as this King of Pentacles in this 9 of Pentacles energy, But the Nine of Pentacles is not a King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles has a Queen of Pentacles. And so this King of Pentacles has been in this position where they've been indecisive about what their energy is. That's why they have this Two of Swords over here, right? With the King of Pentacles, with the Coke bottle and the Three of Swords in the reverse, you know? So, because this King of Pentacles doesn't know that they're a King of Pentacles, and so they wonder that maybe they're Nine of Pentacles right here. And so they're the one who's putting themselves where they're like telling this High Priestess who's in this Ten of Cups where she's trying to offer divine union to this individual, right? They're saying, no, I told you I was a King of Pentacles. I came off as a King of Pentacles, but now I don't even know what I am. And so I'm going to step back into my Nine of Pentacles energy, which is kind of like a very good, positive, self-confident energy, but it could come off like a fuck you energy too, you know? And especially if it's undeserved, you know? And so because that King of Pentacles is decisive, they've also thrown this High Priestess that was coming out here as this Ten of Cups and stuff. The High Priestess is still in the deck. She's coming out in this Nine of Pentacles energy too, because she's like, well, fine then. Like if you're gonna play those games, then I'm gonna go but it's not like fuck you. It's like I'm gonna protect the beautiful things that I have because you're not seeing me for my full beauty as your queen, and you're not treating me like a Queen of Pentacles, you know. And so I'm gonna have to go inside, and I gotta be Nine of Pentacles too now. But I have a lot of abundance here, you know, and I'm not being indecisive about my abundance. That's what the High Priestess is saying. And that's why she honestly is coming out in this Nine of Pentacles energy, because Nine of Pentacles is not indecisive like the Two of Swords would be. The Nine of Pentacles is a stable energy, you know. And so this King of Pentacles is not being honest about what they have to offer. Spirit, why would somebody do that, you know? Like, what's the point? What's the point of, why would we do that to ourselves, you know? Because we all, I think a lot of times come out like we're something that we ain't, that we're hot shit, you know? But it's okay to be, if you thought that you're a King of Pentacles, that's not a really far demotion to go down to the Nine of Pentacles, you know? That's not that bad, you know? That's not that big of a mistake. But if you're making that choice, but then you're demoting a High Priestess to a Nine of Pentacles who's in her Ten of Cups, well, that's a dickhead move, man. You should learn how to manage your emotions better, you know, and try not to treat people that way. Because a King of Cups, a King of Pentacles that has this King of Cups energies would see that the High Priestess is their Ten of Cups, and they wouldn't make that mistake, you know, and they just wouldn't. But that one also came out by the Shark's Tooth, but that don't mean jack shit in this read, because the sharks ain't hurting nobody. You know, we're the big sharks. You know, I shared with everybody at the beginning, I was Leviathan, you know, and so in that water, I'm safe in the deep water. We're safe in the deep water. That's how we roll, you know. We're the submarine. If anything, maybe we're that shark, and that's just representing that we have all that intuition and all that sonar and all that ability to sense what's in the deep and really read through what's going on around us and still sit on our throne in this King of Cups energy, because that's the help that the King of Pentacles is needing. And that King of Cups has been trying to help the King of Pentacles, because the King of Pentacles keeps pissing off his Queen of Pentacles. And that's causing fucking grief for these individuals here who are trying to build an empire, you know? And so the money's not working, or like somebody sees that the money's not working, or that they've invested in the wrong things possibly. That's trying to break their heart, but it's not, because the High Priestess is holding strong in her energy, you know? And she's holding them tides at bay. There's no ebbing or flowing right now, and it's not going to move until this King of Pentacles honestly steps up and spins this wheel for both of them, because they kind of are threatening to, but they haven't yet, you know? And so if they want to know how that wheel works, the High Priestess is saying, go ahead. But she's not going to put nothing on that gamble. She's going to stay in her shell. And so this King of Pentacles needs either shit or get off the pot. If they think they want to experience karma, then they should spin the wheel. Maybe they'll win. They'll come out on top of that wheel, you know? That's always a chance. But they're in the Two of Swords energy, so that's a 50-50 chance. And that's not a good enough chance for this High Priestess over here to take. No way in hell. She don't gamble on odds like that. That's crazy. And you don't play with her like that either, or you're never going to get that shell off the rocks. You'll never see what's inside of her. That is where the beauty lies, you know? And that's the truth. And I'll be right back. Y'all just chew on that for a little bit. Lipids are also tough, but they're tasty, so... This is the world we're dealing with, folks. You know, and it is going crazy every day. It's going crazier and crazier. And that's because everybody has forgot how to love themselves, you know, and so they don't remember how to love each other. And why would we do that, you know? Why would we want to live that way? We don't. I don't live that way, but I gotta live alone. I'd like to be able to love other people and not feel like I'm gonna be punished for that action, you know? And that's the damn truth, man. I think a lot of people might relate with that. Might be able to relate with that. But I'd say that the storm's kind of still stirred itself up, and so the high priestess might want to just latch onto that damn rock like that limpet and hold on tight and see who can and who can't, because that's what it's going to come down to, you know. And that's why that King of Pentacles should just get the balls to spin that wheel. You know, if they want to get a taste of fortune, they want to dick around, they want to dick themselves around, they want to be in that Two Swords energy, they want to fuck around over here, you know, holding their coin tight to their chest, acting like they got passionate new beginnings and not being honest, running with this fireweed. They're gonna get their asses whooped because this button no longer is attached to the chest that used to wear this uniform, you know. And so they probably got buried to the ground and left behind after that 10-second ride was over out there at World Fairs, you know. And so I would say to that King of Pentacles and that Two Swords energy, maybe you don't know enough to be spinning that wheel, you know. Like I'd go probably, I would probably listen to a little bit more of that Ten of Cups energy that the High Priestess is trying to send a direction. Because, you know, to be a High Priestess, you know, the High Priestess, she's learned better than to ever spin the wheel. She don't gamble. She knows it's just riffraff down there at that casino, and she don't want to deal with it, you know. And she knows that no matter what, when you spin that wheel, that, you know, you'll get a free spin and shit every once in a while, but every time that you spin that wheel, you got half and half chance, basically, because that's the thing, you know. There's no promise that you're gonna land on good karma, man. You gotta be careful spinning that wheel. And so the best way to do is to take yourself away from that wheel and be good karma, you know, like. And make sure that you make the right choices in your life, so that you're not spinning that wheel. You go up and you pick what you want like it's a pie, you know? You're like, nope, I want that slice, and I want that slice, and I want that slice. Because the Wheel of Fortune is like a big pie, you know? And it's all divided up. And some of them are shit pies. Some of them are mud pies, you know? Some of them are fucking pig pies. Some of them are just pie, you know? Pussy pie, right? I mean, it's all different shit on there. But it's not all good, man. And so if you could go up to that wheel and spin, but they say like, hey, when you spin this wheel, no matter what slice you land on, you're going to eat that motherfucking pie, right? Well, some pies I don't like, you know? And so the High Priestess learns to be like, no, I'm going to do everything just right. So when I walk up to that wheel, God says, hey, here's your plate, serve yourself, you know? And then you get peach pie, you get blackberry pie, you get apple pie, you get chicken pot pie. All of them are good. They're different, but they're all good, right? You get pecan pie, but you don't get shit pie. You know? And if you want to go out there, you can recognize the difference. You can take a whiff of it. You can walk around that wheel. God just said, go ahead, walk around my wheel. Take your plate. Treat it like it's a cakewalk here. Child, we love you, you know? And we're not going to make you, you know, not even like cakewalk's a cakewalk. You got to sit where that song stops. But both sides of the song never stops. They say just keep feeling your plate, you know. And so you get to just keep walking around that wheel and you're like, man, that one looks good. And you can smell it. And you're like, ooh, that smells like shit. Well, it might look good and smell like shit, but you don't got to eat it. And that's the beauty of being the High Priestess, man. That's what God asks you to protect, you know. Think about that. Most High loves you. Most High's love for you comes out as this King of Cups, you know. Spirit. Why would anybody want to spin a wheel when they can just learn how to walk around, when they can just learn how to ask God nicely and show up good in the house, you know, and God's not going to be like, ooh, you know, God's like, hey, man, go ahead, serve yourself, you know. You know, what's wrong with these individuals now? Why does everybody think like this? You know, why are they afraid of the wheel in that sense? Like, you can make the right choice. You don't got to take a gamble. You don't got to be like, oh, I don't know what to do, you know? I think a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do, and they fucking panic, you know? And so the King of Pentacles is like, oh, fuck, I don't know. I only got two choices. Fucking spin the wheel, you know? And then they're stuck with whatever they land on. They got to eat that shit. Fucking think about it. That's what it is. All God's asking you to do in that two sword situation right there, where you got to think about it, is to cut that shit out before you come in front of God. And you have to make rash decisions like that, or they got to make rash decisions for you. Sometimes they'll spin that wheel for you if you're not careful. They're gonna be like, "Hey, get out pop, shit, move along. Next, we got a line here. They want you to be prompt, and they want you to know what you're doing." The way that we avoid having to spin that wheel is when we know what serves us best in life, and we're not tempted by the shit that the coven's trying to shove down our throats. We don't listen to the lies. We let God give spring water and rainwater to us to drink, and we don't put Coca-Cola in our refrigerator and then try to shove that shit down our own throats. That's stupid. That's them convincing us to kill ourselves, and we don't want to die. And we sure as hell ain't in a wounded warrior position. That's not us. That's not our energy. That might be the energy that people call the shots right now that are coming out in that Ten of Swords energy. That button right there, that's a battle hardened, battle losing. I'd say that the individual wearing that uniform lost that battle if all you left behind was your button, right? They didn't have jack shit. I didn't see nothing else over there. Sure as hell was no empire where that button was. And so this individual, though, see, they've already learned their lessons. That's you. That's the high priestess. You're like, no, I'm gonna sit this one out. Everybody else can fight their own battles. She's like, I'm gonna put my wands down. I'm gonna take my time to heal, and I'm gonna let my Ten of Cups energy dominate my space, so that Six of Cups energy could be I could be open and receptive to what God's trying to do in my life to heal me and to protect me, to keep me in this energy over here, to keep me in this energy as a spearmint. Spirit. What do you want to talk about here, Spirit? What do you want to talk about? What's the 6 talking about this shit, though? Ooh, Spirit threw that shit out there. No, Spirit says, no, I ain't sick talking about it. We got Tower coming. Got Tower coming with the Strength of the reverse. So the Strength of the reverse with Tower is saying that Strength in the upright position is an individual who has control over the tower, how the tower falls, because they control that line by will, not by force, and so they make the right choices. They know how to approach that line, same as the high priestess knows how to approach God when they come up to that wheel of fortune. The high priestess doesn't come up there thinking arrogantly that they're going to spin that wheel and win the 10 of coins or win the 10 of hearts or whatever. The high priestess goes up to that wheel, and she knows that if she has humility and grace, and she is willing to finesse it, that she could go ahead and choose what she wants off of the wheel and get the best out of life. And she could tame that. She could tame those desires, tame those urges, tame that beast that's inside of herself, and free herself from the position where you have to spin the wheel, because that's a risk, because she doesn't want to run that risk. In the reverse, see, this individual is afraid of the wheel. You see, so like in the reverse, they're trying to force the lion to do what they want. That's spinning the wheel, And if you try to force the lion to do what you want in the reverse, they're trying to pry the mouth open or whatever. They're trying to make that lion do what they want. You got to spin that wheel, and that could be a situation where that lion overpowers you, and then you lose your position with God Most High, and it's going to be a long time until you get to that position again where you're in that high priestess energy and you can serve yourself. God's trying to teach you to serve yourself, and that's what the high priestess really truly understands the most, and she understands how to serve herself in a way that is not self-serving, and that is how you tame the lion. That's how you tame the lion, folks. Man, I know it's hard to hear it from an idiot like me, but when God drops the towers, then you're going to hear it from Most High. And so I guess even if I'm an idiot, the advice I've given it's in your head, it's going to ring in your ears. And when them towers come down, I guess you got me to hate. You got us to hate, right? You got the high priestess to hate, but that's okay. She's safe. And so you can hate on her all you want, but that's not going to bring the towers down on her, And that's the deal, man. And that's what that King of Pentacles has got to learn. in order to proceed forward in their own life, happy, even if they want to proceed forward in their own life, however it is. Without, if they want to be a dick to the high priestess, then fine, they can move forward being a dick to the high priestess. But they should have the wisdom, the best thing they could do to avoid a broken heart, right? To keep that Three of Swords in the reverse is to be aware of the swords that the high priestess has given him, so he can be a little wiser and maybe protect himself, if he chooses not to be blind about it. And that's a big choice, man. That's what God's trying to teach all of us. The Page Swords in the reverse is like, people, man, really immature ways of seeing their shit. They don't want to see it that way. They don't. And that's why the energy over here at the seashell, the 6 cups, that 10 cups, man, that's good energy. But that's protected energy, but it's set aside. And that's just what it is. All right, Spirit. Why is this 9 of coin here in the upright position, Spirit? There you go. So 9 of coins in the upright position is the action that's being taken, and like I said earlier, yeah, it is. It's the action that's being taken in both of these energies. But the one energy that's indecisive is the false energy in this 9 of Pentacles energy, because they don't really have to offer what it is that they proclaim to offer, But the sweet meat that's inside that shell right there, that this high priestess is trying to protect in that 10 of Cups energy with God, is exactly what it is, and they both know that. Honestly, all 3 of them know that here, but these 2 here, because that's the high priestess and Most High, that's their divine union, and they know that. All 3 of these energies, the King of Pentacles knows it too. But that's the action, and so it's kind of setting everybody back a little bit. It's coming out in the upright position, but it's set everybody down their ass. But that could be good too, Yeah, because see, now the 2 of Swords energy is coming out in the reverse after that action. And so where the decision was not being made, now the decision has to be made. And that's when God spins the wheel for you, And that could be the action that God's taken. And so maybe and that's what's causing this high priestess to be hiding in the deck, because she doesn't want to come out, man. She's been trying to get things to safer and more secure waters. Because she confidently knows how to do that, and she doesn't want to gamble. She doesn't want to gamble her shit, not at all. She doesn't want to be in that 2 of Swords energy, not at all. She wants to be in that 2 of Swords energy where a decision's already been made, and they can move forward back into the 10 of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles with this Queen of Pentacles, right? Because they're working towards a divine union. They want to be the Emperor and the Empress. They don't want to dick around with this shit where they're going back into a single life where they still have abundance, but now they're single. They're not into that. They bet their counterpart, And so that's important to them. And so, but the counterpart doesn't have the strength, like this, the divine one does, because the divine one is in this 9 of Pentacles where she's like, nah, I'm not going to fight for jack shit. But the King of Pentacles is in that strength. They don't know if they can tame the beast they got inside themselves, but God's going to drop a tower on that energy, because it has to see through the light in order to be a part of the light. You got to see the light to get through the darkness, right? And so that tower is probably going to bring a lot of things to the light. That tower is also on fire, just like I was saying over here at the USA coin stand, right by these 2 candles right here. Could be flaming towers, just like this one. Look. And so there's some fire, there's some towers coming, man. We got to be careful. All of us need to be prepared. What we've been on is a 10-second ride of Six Flags. And so that ride's coming to a screeching halt, but it's going to crash and burn like this tower, And so what was short-lived is now, it could become long-lived, has a lot of problems and everything, and we don't want that. We want long-term goodness. So maybe we need to slow our roll down and not be in a Jack of Swords energy where we're not thinking about shit. We need to come in that 9 of Pentacles energy that, again, only showed itself on the bottom of the deck. And that's where the 10 of Pentacles is hiding too, And so the potential for everybody to come out in a good, positive, upright position is here. But it's going to require some, it's telling us here that God's going to drop that tower with that Wheel of Fortune. That's what it's telling us, you know. This chariot, and then that's going to be forward movement, man. But this is a mastery over your masculine and your feminine. This is a mastery over your own light and dark within yourself. You can't build towers that will always stand if you don't build it all with staple stone. You know what I'm saying? And so you're the master of the ship. You know, you're the one who's in charge of this vessel right here. You know, and that's your chariot. But if you look too, it's a forward motion card, but your steeds haven't even been harnessed to your chariot yet. And so you got potential to move forward, but you got to make a decision. And God's not going to hook them horses up for you. They might spin that wheel for you, but you got to get off that horse and learn how to harness them. You got to get off that high seat. I mean, what are you waiting for servants to do it? Well, they're not gonna, because that's not the way it works right now. You're who's to say that's even your chariot? You might be late for work, you know. Maybe it's your job to learn how to harness them horses so that you can go pick up the king or whatever, you know, and then give that king a ride to his queen as the king and queen of pentacles, and then they can pay you for your job well done, you know. And so maybe that's possibly what you're doing there. And it's coming out with this nine of wands in the reverse energy, which is the that's telling me that you need to fight for what you love. You don't fight for what you got. Make them steeds get up. Make them steeds get up. Put the harnesses on them and get after it. You know, stop waiting. Stop waiting. You know, know that if you don't harness your own steeds, then you can't blame somebody if your harnesses come undone while you're moving down the road or whatever. It causes you grief, right? You got to have that strength. You got to have that strength to harness the energies that you have within and do something with them. Instead of, see, like you have nine wands, but you stand the risk to lose them 9 wands, you know, and that's kind of the same energy that 9 of cups is in that I was talking about, you know, because if you don't stand up and fight for them, you're going to lose those wands. You got to see the value in them. You got to know what they're worth. You can't build a carriage without wood, you know, and those wands are wood. You can't build a fire without wood, you know, and that's your passions. If you don't fight for your passions in life and you don't stand up for them in the upright position, then you stand to lose them, and that puts you in a sad position over here at that 4 coins on your ace of wands, you know, because you're going to be down to 1 wand and you're going to hold on to that wand tight because it ain't nobody else going to want that one, but you're going to think everybody does, but you're going to not even be able to give it because it's not going to be enough to give, you know. You're going to lose your shit. You're not going to have your chariot no more. See? Spirit. Yep, Spirit says you got to balance this shit out, you know. It takes temperance, it takes balance, it takes understanding to have that strength. It takes that eight symbol on top of that woman's head there in that strength card. That's the infinity, you know. And so that's the give and take, you know. That's the it goes round, it comes round. That's you reap what you sow. And that's what this read is saturated in. You reap what you sow. You know, we're drowning in you reap what you sow. These big energies don't want to come out, you know. They don't. We know why. Because they don't fuck around with this shit. They've already reaped what they've sown, you know. And so now they're in a position, they're like, no, I'm sowing the seeds of multiple generations, you know, I'm not gonna get out on the stage and try to show off like the rest of these hotheads are, like the rest of these pieces of shit are, because we understand stability, you know, and we know how to manifest with God. And so why come out and play, come out of the deck, come hang out on the table when somebody out here is trying to spin the wheel, you know? The high energies know that when you spin that wheel, that and see here, this card, it's like fell off my table, but it's an old deck of mine, right? Yeah, it's 9 of Pentacles energy. It's like this joy kill. It's somebody who's slow rolling on their own joy, man. Yeah, they're fighting it. They're fighting it coming in, you know. See, and so they need to get off the pot or shit, man. Like if you don't spin the wheel, God's gonna spin the wheel for you, man. And that's on this Tower card, you know. And so this 9 of Pentacles is the slowest moving energy in the deck, right? And that stalling that you're having right now, fighting your own joy and intuition, you know. And so it's like your passions right now, but your childish passions, you need to let go of these things that are like, it's like play shit, you know. It's like you need to those kids are playing, they're trying to learn. They're not champions, you know. They're not. That's not a serious war. That's not like a battle. That's not a battle. That's a game, you know. It's like it's not to death, you know. But you're at a time right now where your joy is at stake, you know, because that tower is going to fall, and so you're dragging in this energy of being immature and squabbling with the things that make you happy and what's going to bring you happiness, you know. And so that's why the real 10 of cups that you have in your life, you know, the lover that you have, the lover that we all want, right, that we roll with tight, that Most High makes in our heart, that stable individual that we are, that we become, to where love changes. The whole game of how we deal with other people changes, you know. We treat everybody exactly how we want to be treated ourselves, you know. And that's ultimately where we're trying to get. But the King of Pentacles doesn't know how to treat themselves. They don't know who's breaking their heart, you know. They don't know if it's the Coca-Cola that's making them sick, you know, or what. Like, they don't trust it, you know. It's like a person in the 50s that everybody's being told that cigarette smoking was good for you. And so everybody's like, well, I don't know, you know, they don't make me feel very good, but they all tell me that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So they kept doing it, but then it killed them, you know. And that's the thing. That's why they're in this energy here, you know. And so, anyways, I got to get some stuff done today because I still got to go back out to the, I'm going to get some more work done. I got some work lined up, which is great. That's God's blessings, you know. I dropped the deck, but we got, as it fell, you know, we got Judgment and then the Lovers that came out in the upright, right? And so, yeah, this Judgment, you know. Judgment's been called on this situation, man. These lovers got there's potential, you know, like always, but not always. But with this situation, I'd say, yeah, I would say that really, honestly, we really are all flying by the seat of our pants right now. We got some crazy leadership in government right now. We got some crazy beliefs going on in our family units right now. We got some crazy ways. I know that I've been really trying to really go inside, so I never go without. Thank you, Miss Victoria. We love you. You're number one. Shout out. But yeah, like she says, you got to go within, so you never go without, right? And I love that saying because I've always spoke of the internal space that we hold dominion over. Our empires are built within, you know, and they're built with God, and that's how we become very powerful leaders ourselves, and we have wisdom, you know. And so that's what this is about right now. I think that there's a lot of people right now are being put in positions where they have to go within, and it's not something that they've really experienced like this, you know. And it's like it's a new thing, you know. And I think that a lot of people are getting. I mean, I think it's really coming to a head here, where some people, I think that there's nothing in there. I don't know. I hate saying it like that, but I fear that some people now are looking inside of themselves, and then it's like we're losing the recipe is the best way to put it. And so it's not that they have nothing within them, but that they're malnourished of the things spiritually that give them the strength of the essence to seek within, you know. And so it's like they're trying to go within, but they're not finding what they need to find in there because those seeds haven't been sown by the spiritual exchange that we have with our physical experience here on earth, you know. And so it's like we all need to be working harder to understand ourselves on the metaphysical level within, and then that's how we preserve the ingredients that God has that makes the recipe the way it is. You know, because it's like it's the human experience, and we got to know how to go deep so that we don't forget those essential elements that we need, you know, and the certain ingredients that we need in order to sustain our a spiritual existence within the physical, you know. I mean, we're going to become empty vessels if we don't know how to fill our pantry. Then we'll be an empty vessel, and we won't be able to cook the delicious meal that God has created us all and ordained us all to cook and to serve to this world to make it a beautiful place, you know. And that's what it's about. And so, um, thank you to the universe. I say thank you to the people who are doing the work who never even will ever see my face or hear my voice or know anything about me. I say thank you to them too. You know, I say thank you to everybody. You know, for trying to go deep right now, because we really need to. You know, we need to. We really do. There's a jadeite arrowhead that I found out here. I didn't even so much find it. It's just that I was digging into rocks and dropped right in my hand. You know, it's the craziest thing I ever had. I seen a lot of arrowheads, found a lot of arrowhead stuff, but this one right here is like, I was like on a hill and I was looking for jadeite. You know, I was looking in a spot that has a lot of quartz and some stuff that could be jadeite. You know, and the thing it just dropped right underneath, right into my hand. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's really cool. It's cool. Got a lot of deer out here on this hill, you know. So they're out here chasing them big bucks. We still got some big bucks out here. It's cool. Well, no, we got really big bucks out here. But thank God, thank you for giving me, man. Keep everybody safe. Let's take care of the world, you know. We gotta take this beast down, you guys. You know, we really do. I hope that I just pray to God that maybe that voices like mine could be heard, you know. So even if it's just 5, 10, 15 people at a time, I mean, I guess that we could gather people that's just gonna start thinking more like that, like really about our inner and our divine connect, our peace within our inner sanctity. You know, it's like we gotta create sanctuaries for ourselves. You know, we gotta keep ourselves safe. We gotta pull back from the beast. You know, it's the only way that we can take it down is by not feeding it. You know, and that's the thing. We're the fodder, you know, and so, but we're powerful. We're just gonna get more and more powerful, because that's how the story is told. God already won, and so don't ever forget about that. Stay in the light, stay powerful, don't be tempted, and you know, let's not have this tower drop on us negatively. Let's make this a good world, folks. If we gotta take our time just a little bit, you know. And I love you. Peace be with y'all. And then I don't know, be working and stuff, but I'm gonna keep coming. So I love you.